What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about what came out of China yesterday that drew NIO up yesterday, and we're also going to talk about the CPI numbers that are supposed to come out today. So hopefully those are in our favor, that cause the market to kind of climb up, because that's going to be the big concern for the day. But first, before we hop into that, we ask you guys hit that sub button. It's the best way to support the channel. It keeps you guys up to date on all things stock market and NIO related news. But yeah, also link down in the description below for Stock Dudes t-shirts if you guys are interested in those. Go check them out. But without further ado, let's give it some razzle dazzle and hop into it. So let's just talk about the CPI numbers real quick, get those out of the way, because that's going to be the big concern for today. Hopefully, by the time you guys see this video, hopefully the numbers aren't terrible or they haven't come out yet. That's my big concern there, is because of it just talks about inflation, how that's going to play out, and that could really decide whether or not this market's going to be going up or down. I know there's a lot of talk about a possible market correction or a market crash, however you want to phrase it. And yeah, let's talk about that too. But in a survey that was released yesterday from Xpeng, they surveyed about 550 investors, and they found out about 58% of those investors actually believe there's going to be a pullback somewhere between the 5 and 10% by the end of the year. And they said about 10% of those actually thought it would be greater than that by the end of the year. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes true, because there's clearly that's on the minds of a lot of people. But me personally, I feel like if we talk, the more we talk about it, the more we're going to do it ourselves and just send this thing down.
Yeah, I mean, how long have we been talking about a market crash or correction? At least 3 months, it seems like everybody's been talking about it. So it's kind of, I don't know, overplayed at this point, I think.
We're kind of talking ourselves into it.
Right.
But they said that those that were surveyed believe that the sickness, the sickness of that's going around is actually more of a concern than the inflation itself. And I know that, again, that's another thing that's been on a lot of people's mind, is how is this going to play out with new variants going around and stuff like that. We'll see how that affects the market. A lot of people are predicting that towards the fall it's going to get worse. So fingers crossed that it doesn't, because we don't want that. But speaking of inflation, again, the CPI numbers are coming out today, so hopefully those expectations are better than we expect, because again, that's really going to decide how this market swings today. And yesterday was it was an all right day, depending on what you're looking at. I know NIO finished up about 1% on the day, so we'll keep an eye on that. But speaking of NIO, big things coming out of NIO, or out of China, that could really help NIO drive up even more and pick up more of China's market.
Yeah, so on Monday, China's Minister for Industry and Information Technology told reporters that the country's EV sector is too fragmented and in dire need of consolidation. And I didn't even know it was this bad, but we'll get to the numbers here in a second. So they said, looking forward, EV companies should grow bigger and stronger, and we have too many EV firms on the market right now. Like I said, I figured it was, a couple handfuls or few handfuls, of EV makers. It seems like everyone and their brother that had a business of any kind was getting into the EV game. But there are more than 300 EV makers in China, which, like I'm saying, is a heck of a lot more than I thought. So since 2010, Beijing encouraged the sector's development by offering tax breaks for companies entering the market and subsidy schemes for consumers who purchased EVs. So obviously, companies want them tax breaks. So they're just like, hey, let's, dip our toes in the EV game, even if, we're not really that serious about it, just so we can get some tax breaks. So I'm sure that's what a lot of companies were doing. So according to Bloomberg, regulators plan to address the issue of too many underutilized suppliers by setting minimum production capacity utilization rates for EV manufacturers on a per province basis. So still the information is kind of new with that, so we'll get more information on that. But I'm sure they'll figure out a way to kind of screw the small guys, and make them pretty much sell or come together to be a bigger entity. Also, the founder and CEO of auto industry consultancy, Sino, maybe I'm saying that right, Auto Insights, says, it doesn't surprise me that the share prices have fallen, but overall I see China's big three, which is NIO, which is, he is saying, not me, is NIO, Li Auto, and Xpeng benefit from this in the long run. So he says the new regulations could create an opportunity for well-financed players to acquire new talent and technology from smaller firms.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that, because people would be giving us hate for bashing Nio or, you know, being fanboys of Nio or whatever. No, that's like coming straight out of China, and they're saying that, hey, the three big ones are Nio, Li, and Xpeng, which obviously we all know those are the ones that really get talked about the most. You know, BYD's up there as well, but they're on a whole nother level compared to those three. Yeah. But let's go ahead and look at the stock, show you guys what it's doing, what it did, and we'll go ahead and give you guys our prediction and hopefully where it goes for today. So we can see again that it did end yesterday up about 1% on the day, and again, you guys will probably be seeing this around noon or so. So hopefully things are treating us well in the market. We are still hanging on to this bottom wedge pattern here on that solid support. So we'll see if we can kind of keep pushing our way back up. I know we bounced off it here, but it pulled itself right back down. And now we're just kind of hanging out here. It seems to be that this 38 is where it really wants to stay. Yeah, I know we had this problem with 45 for quite a while.
Yeah, if you go in, zoom in on just the day, you can see that it really just bounced off 38 like a bunch of times. It's a pretty good resistance there, or support there, I mean. So, you know, I didn't want to really, once I got past it, it didn't want to really drop below it. So hopefully we start holding above 38 again. Would be nice to see, but we did bounce back down to 38 a bunch of times and it held over it, so that is good. And two, if you go back to the day real quick, you can see there's a huge sell-off in the morning, but then it just it got bought right back up, like we've seen, I don't know, the past 3 days or so. It's been like that, but that is good news that it's, you know, always gets bought back up every time there's a big dip. So
right. And I think the sell-off this morning I read somewhere was that it was caused by the news coming out of China of them saying there's too many EV manufacturers over there. Yeah. And obviously there are people who are like, oh my God, Nio's going to be one of them shut down or what. You know, people freak out for no reason at all. Right. But it clearly shows that we do have the buying power here. A lot of people picked up some cheap shares earlier this morning at $36 and they're already sitting pretty. But if we go back and look at the RSI for the year to date, we're still below that 50 there on the chart. So that's usually where you want to see it hang, and then it usually decides whether it's going to go up or down from there. So I'm kind of hoping we just have another green day. Again, it's all going to depend on how this CPI comes out. I think that's really going to swing a lot of stocks in the market, regardless of where they're at. You know, whether it's China or here in the States as well. But yeah, I'm really hoping for a great day.
Yeah, look at the volume too. It's only 52 million. That's pretty low. So it seems like a lot of people are just, you know, sitting on the sidelines waiting until those numbers come out, possibly, since the volume was so low.
But that's going to wrap up this video. We hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, share, notification bell, all that good stuff. It really helps support the channel and keeps you guys updated on everything that's going on in the stock market. But again, don't forget to hit those links down below, the like, share, notification bell, all that good stuff as well. And again, we got that link down there for the Stock Dudes merchandise if you guys are interested in getting yourself a cool Stock Dudes t-shirt. But again, thank you guys so much for all your support, and we'll see you guys in the next video.